Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Please like and subscribe. More importantly, $2.99 a month. Become a member to the channel. And hey, you can always leave that donation for that fried rice and chicken wings. Look, everyone is going crazy. Jaron Boots Ennis sparring with Canelo. Let me just explain what I think is going on. I think Eddie Hearn owed Canelo Alvarez a favor. And if you look at the relationship that Eddie Hearn has always had with Canelo, they have a really good friendship, almost like brothers. And I really feel Eddie Hearn and Canelo had a conversation based on what most people believe as far as Jaron Boots Ennis and what he's capable of doing in the ring. Some say he's the closest thing to Terrence Crawford. So what a great addition a guy like Jaron Boots Ennis would be to Canelo's camp, especially seeing that Jaron Boots Ennis is back in fight mode since he's getting ready for a fight later this year. So understand this. There's a lot of politics involved with Jaron getting in camp with Canelo. But at the end of the day, Jaron Boots Ennis has an opportunity to spar a great. That'd be just like if Floyd Mayweather was still active and somebody, getting an opportunity to spar with him. You just don't turn that shit down. But anyway, there's a lot of people who have an issue with it. Well, we're all adults here, right? Some black people. And I'm going to talk about that. But to me, the race shit shouldn't matter. It's stupid. And maybe I don't see shit like that because I grew up West Indian background, man. Love all, hate none. I don't give a fuck about no race, man. I just don't know how to think that way. Jaron Boots Ennis going to spar Canelo. I'm sure it's politics. I'm sure it's business. But everybody out here, not everybody, but a few bozos, man, he's sold out. He's a coon. He's a this. How did we get to this point with Jaron Boots Ennis? Yeah, he's been acting funny lately. Like, what did Jaron Boots Ennis do? What did he do? Is he not supposed to go out there and spar Canelo? Canelo, the face of boxing, one of the best fighters ever to put on a pair of gloves, one of the best fighters in the world today, not just out of Mexico, in the world. He ain't supposed to go out there and spar him? Man, y'all come on. Matter of fact, I don't feel like cussing, so let's do this. It ain't about me anyway, right? So let's get me out of here. Because what we really need to be looking at and focusing on is Terrence Crawford, Canelo, and Ennis, TURKI, ALALSHIKH, and Eddie Hearn. The question is Ennis helping Canelo beat Crawford? Look, this is just one of those moments in boxing where the layers of this union goes far beyond the ring, man. Jaron sparring with Canelo ahead of Canelo's fight on September 13th is against Crawford. To me, I think is a tactical move, a business decision. And depending on who you ask, this could be a cultural flashpoint. Now, let's just try to understand this from just like Crawford uses angles, Jaron uses angles. Let's try to break this down from every angle. Strategic, emotional, and legacy driven. Okay? So is this good or bad for Canelo? Because look, there's only one Terrence Crawford. Okay, who you bring in there, they're not Terrence Crawford. But I do think it's good. Absolutely. When you take a look at Jaron Ennis, what he brings to the table, he's arguably the closest stylistic match to Crawford available today. Of course, he can switch hit. He has fast hands. He's explosive. He's cerebral. All of those attributes Terrence Crawford possesses. Jaron Ennis has also studied Crawford for years, which is something Crawford and his team does for Crawford's opponents. And I'll tell you this. Jaron Ennis even went out and said, whatever Terrence Crawford thinks he can do, I can do it better. And that has nothing to do with age. That just has everything to do with where he feels his skill set is and his IQ. Now, if you're Canelo and you're hearing this, and also you've been watching this guy fight, and you know you have a lifeline to Eddie Hearn, that kind of insight is gold. And you're like, I'm getting ready to fight this guy, Terrence Crawford. Let me use this lifeline. Touch base with Eddie Hearn. I know they're not going to say no because I'm Canelo. I'm Canelo. And he's like, yo, I'm preparing for a fighter unlike any he's faced. Any fighter Canelo's faced. I'm preparing for someone. I never faced no one like Terrence Crawford. I need to get someone in here who doesn't just box, but who can adapt early in the fight, mid-fight, and later in the fight. So what Jaron Ennis is essentially giving Guadalajara, Jalisco's finest, he's giving him, to me, like simulations, right? A no kidding live, real-time simulation of Crawford's rhythm, angles, and unpredictability, at least as close as he could possibly get. And listen, whether you like it or not, you agree with Jaron, you agree with Eddie, you agree with Canelo, you want to see Crawford win or lose, it doesn't matter how you feel. That's invaluable, man, for Canelo to basically have, maybe if he closes his eyes really, really tight, he feels he has goddamn Terrence Crawford in the ring. Canelo's biggest vulnerability against movers like Bivol and Lara was timing and foot placement. And this is where it's a good thing to have a guy like Jaron in camp, because Ennis it won't be exact, but he can come very close to replicating threats. And he can help Canelo sharpen his ring cutting and counter timing, which is something Canelo's been working on with the foot speed drills. Now, if we're going to ask, is Jaron Boots Ennis a good thing for Canelo? Well, we got to ask, is Jaron Boots Ennis being in camp with Canelo, is that good or bad for Crawford? Now, we just got to be real here. I don't think it's ideal. You know what I mean? Crawford's style is notoriously hard to mimic. There's only one Terrence Crawford. But Ennis sure as hell comes close. And I don't care what you say, you got to hold your horses, not take it to the stupid now. Ennis comes close. That's like Madrimov and Canelo. No, they're not the same, but Madrimov sure as hell could come close to mimicking Canelo. So if a guy like Ennis, he's offering not just physical sparring, but he's also offering strategic insight. Now, what he's gonna get now is how a guy like Crawford reacts under pressure, how he sets traps, how he transitions between stances. Those are problem areas. Crawford's edge has always been, because no one really knows him and he's a silent killer and he kind of minds his business and he's a family man. I think the mystique behind Terrence Crawford has always given him an edge. I mean, you just don't know. But for Ennis, some of that mystique is being unveiled. And Ennis just might be decoding that mystique, Terrence Crawford mystique, and unveiling that to Canelo, which is all bad for Crawford. That said, Crawford is a one of one, and we got to be real about that and not take it to the stupid. He's not just a style. Crawford is the word everyone keeps using. Cerebral. Look, he's a mentality, all right? No sparring partner can fully replicate Crawford's coolness under pressure, his composure. You cannot find somebody who can emulate that. As far as Crawford's timing, look, there's people who can help Canelo with timing to get an idea of what it's like facing Crawford, but you can't give him what Crawford does. Okay, the things that Crawford delivers in the ring, you just can't get 100% reproduction of that. You just can't. But the more I think about it, Jerome Boots Ennis, can he flip a fight with adjustments? Have we seen Jerome Boots Ennis show the ability to flip a fight with one adjustment? I don't think we've seen Jerome Boots Ennis do that quite yet. But that's something that Terrence Crawford can do. Terrence Crawford can make one adjustment and flip an entire fight. So that's something that Ennis is probably trying to do to help Canelo prepare. But at the end of the day, is he helping Canelo? Yeah, but it doesn't guarantee a victory. Now, it is what it is when it comes to the sparring. Now, as far as the black fans being upset at Ennis, look, I get it. You got Mexican fans support the Mexican fan. People from Spain support the Spanish fighter. Italians support the Italian. The British support the British. The Aussie oys support the Aussie oys. But in America, it's not Americans support Americans. And I live in America, and I'm born here like most of y'all who are watching this video. You'll never see Americans supporting Americans. It's always a black, a white, or whatever. They always see color, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not here to get into all that bullshit, but what I'll tell you is, this is where emotion meets identity when you start getting into race. But let me say this real quick before I continue rambling on. You know, I have seen where, when it comes to America, where I've been places where I've been seen as an American. I have. And of course, y'all know I was in the military for 25 years. Let me tell you the times when I was seen as an American. Let me do this. Bring my face back in to give y'all the goddamn story. There were people I used to see every day. Every day. We're at the same base. See cats in passing the gym and the workplace. They would never talk to me. And I give up, hey, good morning. They wouldn't talk. Got to the point I say, your mouth broken? They just still wouldn't talk. Do that bullshit. So we ended up having to go TDY and shit like that. TDY means temporary duty. From, like I was stationed in Florida, right? Had to go to Korea. When we were all in the airport leaving the States, you see people start clicking off. I always roll dolo. That's always me. I get my Starbucks coffee, chill out with my music, and breathe. I didn't care what nobody was doing. Because y'all don't talk to me at the workplace anyway. So I'm not getting in the airport now and fucking kumbaya with you. You clicking off already. Y'all avoid me. We're all big men. We know what we need to do, but y'all clicking off. But when we used to end up in another country, that's when they see your ass as an American. And that shit used to trip me out. Even if you didn't know them, there'd be another person. You don't know them from shit. But they could tell their ass is American. Because I ain't gonna get into that. But they look lost. You in Japan, you in China, you in Korea. And they're so afraid to ask a question. So everyone in there, and all that shit. And I'm cool as a fan, man. Family from another country. So, I mean, I grew up very diverse environment. I don't give a shit you speak in Spanish, Korean, Hindi, Urdu. It don't matter. Caribbean cat, man, we don't give a shit about none of that. So if I got a question, we going to figure it out. If you don't speak English and whatever, and I don't speak your language, we'll figure it out. But they wouldn't. And that's when they would sit there and be looking for that familiar kind of American kind of looking face. Then they'd come up to you. Hey, brother. Stay the fuck out of here, man. You wouldn't talk to me in the States, asshole. Now you over here scared because it's a language barrier. That's the only time you see that shit. But once you get to the deployed location or the TDY location, that shit goes back to how it was in the States, you know what I'm saying? So it's only when they needed your ass. But anyway, let's get me back off of here. Let me finish my goddamn rants. So as far as the blacks being upset with Jerron Ennis, I got off on a tangent, man. Okay, yeah. So they feel that they feel betrayed by Jerron Ennis. A rising black fighter helps a non-black icon, who's Canelo, prepare to defeat a black champion. Man, I mean, I just don't, I guess because I don't give a shit. I don't know what the big deal is, man. I mean, Jerron's getting to work, But you know what, man? Hey, I guess because I'm not a racially charged, racially motivated guy, I just talk boxing and I just see this as all business, a little bit of politics. But I definitely don't see it like another brother trying to hold a brother down. Like, I just don't see it that way. I think it's dumb. But anyway, it's not just about race. To some people it's about loyalty, legacy, representation. Crawford, for a lot of people, isn't just a fighter. He's a symbol of discipline, purity, and black excellence in a sport that often sidelines those values. And I get that. You know what I'm saying? I understand that. But I also understand boxing is a business. Iron sharpen irons. Everybody's looking to get an upper hand, looking to improve. Jerron Ennis, he's had a lot of fights already, 30-plus fights, but he's still kind of a pup in all this because he's never really got to the big stage. He's kind of there now, but he hasn't really passed a true test for us to be able to say he's shown us that how he deals with adversity, how he gets up after he gets hurt. He hasn't gone through that. So he passes the eye test. But it comes back to, I just think, being a coincidence that Jerron Ennis is preparing for his own fight at 154. So sparring a guy like Canelo helps him sharpen his tools, gain exposure, and build relationships. So I don't think he's selling out. I think he's leveling up. And Crawford himself has never played the tribal card. You don't hear Crawford talking no shit about race. It's only the stupid-ass fans. He respects Ennis, and Ennis respects him. And again, there's only one Crawford, there's only one Canelo. So while some fans may feel conflicted, I think it's important to separate these personal feelings, man, personal emotion from professional reality. And I will say, man, there's some channels out here. I'm a retired cat. My life is good. I do this shit because it's therapeutic. I like talking boxing. If I can make some money off this, cool, but I ain't tripping. So you ain't gonna see me come and sell my soul for no bullshit, because I don't care. I only care about my 4 sons. Outside of that, I don't give a fuck about nothing, all right? But I see these guys, this whole channel is about race. Race. And not just black channels, other channels. Everybody just wants to be about race. There's a fucking idiot on Twitter. I blocked him last night. I called him, a something and something and something. I ain't gonna say it on here, but everything with him is something negative. And I'm like, yo, Jesus Christ, man. I wouldn't even, I hate the fact, I think I'm gonna delete my Twitter page. If not, I'm just gonna get it to where I just get information. Because I would never, ever talk to these people. Ever. So that gives them an opportunity to post a little stuff, but I ignore most of it. But the bottom line is, Ennis isn't betraying Crawford. He's building himself, and in doing so, he's helping to elevate the sport, all right? So who benefits more, Canelo or Ennis? I think it's mutual. Canelo gets elite preparation. That's what he needs. You got to be probably beyond elite to be prepared for a guy who's as amazing as Terrence Crawford. But Ennis ultimately benefits the most, if you ask me. He gets elite experience. But long term, Ennis may benefit way more. I'm telling you, he's moving up in weight, preparing for Luis Malima, gaining insight into how a future Hall of Famer trains, how a future Hall of Famer thinks. how a future Hall of Famer adjusts. And for Jaron Ennis, his dad's done a wonderful job for him, but his dad can't give him what Canelo can give him. That's priceless what he's getting. And if Ennis ever fights Crawford, which I doubt it, but if he does, or someone like him, then this sparring is going to be foundational. So who knows what direction all of this is going to go and where we're going to end up. But I'll just tell you this. For me, I had to ask the question. I kind of know who benefits the most. It's really Jaron Ennis, but is this just business or something more? And I think the answer to that is, yes and no. It's business in the sense where Eddie Hearn has extended the olive branch to Canelo and brought Jaron over there. But it's business sense where fighters spar across camps all the time. That's not uncommon. But it's also symbolic, okay? Canelo bringing in Ennis is a statement. I'm taking Crawford seriously. And that's why so many people are shook up right now, because they're like, holy shit. Canelo has all these top talents coming into his camp. He's ready to go to war with Crawford and possibly end the war within 3-4 rounds. And for Ennis to accept, which I personally think it may have been, kind of spun that way to him, but I think Eddie Hearn was like, hey, this is something you need to do. I think Eddie Hearn owed Canelo a favor. That's just me. But Ennis accepting it is a statement. Him going to Canelo's camp is just a statement. And I think all that's going to do is what Eddie Hearn wants is just, get the conversation going on Jaron Boots Ennis. And Eddie Hearn has something to talk about in another interview. Eddie Hearn hasn't seen a microphone he doesn't like. And it sounds like Jaron is just ready to be part of those elite conversations. So at the end of the day, I just think fans should ignore the deeper layers, but they also shouldn't weaponize it, Boxing's a global sport. Loyalty matters, but so does growth. And Jaron has to grow, and I guess, maybe there's, I don't know, man. Some people think there should be a little bit more loyalty to the race because this is bigger than boxing to some people. I just don't see it that way, so I don't agree. But, hey, everyone's entitled to feel how they feel, right? So can a sparring partner truly prepare Crawford for Canelo or Canelo for Crawford? The answer is no. All right? And that's the beauty of this fight, man. There's only one Terrence Bud Crawford from Omaha, Nebraska, and only one Canelo Alvarez from Guadalajara, Jalisco. You can simulate, I think, the tendencies. You can try to emulate stances. You can look at some of the counters and try to rehearse counters, but you can't replicate the will, the heart, the fire that's inside these fighters. You can't replicate the timing. You can't replicate the legacy pressure. So the bottom line is, when the lights hit and that crowd starts roaring, Viva Mexico, cabrones! Or they shouting, Bud, 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 or whatever the hell they shout. Hey, look, it ain't going to be about sparring. When that bell goes ding, ding, that shit's going to be about soul, spirit, grit, determination, durability, finding a way to win or finding a way to lose. And Crawford and Canelo, when they get in that ring, they 100% stay committed all the way to the end of the fight of trying to find a way to win. So Canelo will be ready, Crawford will be ready, but only one is going to be remembered. And we got to wait till September 13th to see who it's going to be. Anyway, y'all keep cool. Become a member to the channel. Try not to get caught up in the race shit. Race don't have a goddamn thing with who's going to win the fight. You know what I'm saying? But that's just my opinion. I'm sure somebody will be in the comment section looking to goddamn spar with me, talking about races, everything. Boxing's built around race. You go back to the Jack Johnson days, and Jack Johnson had the white women and rode the goddamn donkey cart and then, man, get over that fucking bullshit. Boxing is a beautiful sport. And that's all I gotta say. Y'all keep cool, I'm in the breeze.